The Montana winter had always been merciless, but today the silence felt different. Kate Anderson adjusted her thermal scope, scanning the tree line as snowflakes drifted through the crisp morning air. 20 years of hunting experience and 3 tours as a Marine Scout sniper had honed her instincts to a razor's edge. Something was wrong. "You're being paranoid again, sis," Tom chuckled, his breath visible in the cold. He shouldered his rifle and started walking toward the elk tracks they'd been following. At 32, her younger brother still had that same carefree smile he'd worn as a kid. "The elk's not going to wait all day." Kate remained still, her trained eye catching subtle movements in the distance. The birds had stopped singing. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. "Tom, get back here. Now." The urgency in her voice made him pause. In their 15 years of hunting together, he'd learned to trust her instincts. He turned back, and that's when Kate saw it. The air shimmered, like heat waves rising from summer asphalt. But this was different. More geometric, almost crystalline. It moved with purpose, stalking between the snow-laden pines directly behind Tom. "Down." Kate screamed, already pulling her trigger. The .300 Winchester Magnum roared, the round passing through the empty space where the distortion rippled. A screech pierced the air, something between a mountain lion's roar and the sound of tearing metal. Fluorescent green blood splattered the snow, but Tom never made it to the ground. The invisible force snatched him up like a rag doll. Kate watched in horror as her brother's body was lifted 10 feet into the air, suspended by something she couldn't see. "Kate." His terrified scream cut short with a sickening crack. The world slowed to a crawl. Kate's military training kicked in, suppressing the scream building in her throat. 3 more distortions emerged from the trees, their outlines barely visible against the falling snow. Her mind raced, analyzing the patterns of disturbed snowflakes around them. They were big, at least 8 feet tall. She fired again, cycling rounds through her rifle with mechanical precision. 2 shots at the creature holding Tom, one at the closest approaching figure. More alien blood painted the pristine snow, accompanied by those otherworldly shrieks. Tom's body dropped, motionless. Kate rolled behind a fallen log as return fire, some kind of plasma weapon, scorched the air where she'd been. The log exploded into splinters and steam. She pulled the backup pistol from her thigh holster, mind already plotting her next move. The creatures were moving in a standard flanking pattern, but their footprints in the snow betrayed their positions. They might be technologically advanced, but they hunted like predators. Predictably, Kate had spent her life studying predators. She pulled the flashbang from her hunting vest, a habit from her military days that Tom always teased her about. The alien's reaction to her gunfire suggested sensitive hearing. Time to test that theory. The flashbang detonated, and the forest erupted with those metallic screams. The distortions in the air wavered, their cloaking technology disrupted by the sensory overload. For a split second, Kate saw them clearly, towering, armored figures with mandible-like jaws and reptilian features. She emptied her pistol into the nearest one, aiming for the joints in its armor. The creature fell, its cloaking device failing completely. The others retreated, firing wildly as they dragged their wounded companion away. Their blood left a glowing trail in the snow. When silence returned to the forest, Kate ran to Tom's body. She didn't need to check for a pulse. Her brother's vacant eyes stared at the gray Montana sky. His neck bent at an impossible angle. Snow began to cover him, as if nature itself was trying to erase the horror of what had happened. Kate stood, her grief crystallizing into cold rage. She pulled out her phone and snapped photos of the alien blood, the strange footprints, the disturbed snow patterns that showed their movement. The world had just changed, and she had proof. More importantly, she had knowledge. These creatures, whatever they were, had come to Earth to hunt humans. But they'd just made a fatal mistake. They'd killed a hunter's brother. and Kate Anderson was going to teach them what it meant to be prey. Kate stood before a panel of military brass in a secure underground facility beneath Malmstrom Air Force Base, her brother's dried blood still on her hunting jacket. The evidence she'd collected, photos, videos, and alien blood samples, projected on screens behind her. Colonel James Rivera, a weathered Special Forces veteran, studied her with sharp gray eyes. 3 more hunting parties went missing last night, he said, sliding satellite photos across the table. Wyoming, Idaho, and Oregon. Same pattern as your brother. They're testing our defenses, Kate replied, pointing to the geographical spread. These aren't random attacks. They're methodically mapping human response patterns across different terrains. A general scoffed. Ms. Anderson, with all due respect. Staff Sergeant Anderson, Rivera corrected sharply. 2-time distinguished marksman, specialized in counterinsurgency operations. Show her the footage. The lights dimmed as thermal imaging from a military drone filled the screen. Grainy shapes moved through a Oregon forest, similar to what Kate had witnessed. But something was different about their movement patterns. These were recorded 4 hours ago, Rivera continued. Young hunters, based on their behavior, less disciplined than the ones you encountered. Kate leaned forward, her trained eye catching subtle details. They're practicing. Earth is their training ground. The realization hit her like a physical blow. We're not just being hunted. We're being used to train their young. The room fell silent. Kate pulled up her own footage, highlighting the blood spatter patterns. But they made a crucial mistake. They assumed we'd be easy prey. My brother and I wounded 3 of them before. She paused, steadying her voice. Before they retreated. Rivera nodded grimly. Which is why you're here. We're putting together a specialized response team. People who understand how predators think, how they hunt. We need. Alarms blared through the facility. Red emergency lights bathed the room as a junior officer burst through the door. Sir, contact in Bozeman. Multiple hostiles. They're not hiding anymore. How many casualties? The general demanded. That's just it, sir. None. The local hunting club. They fought back. They've got one of the aliens cornered in a sporting goods store. Kate was already moving. Colonel, get me there. I know how they think now. 20 minutes later, Kate and a Special Forces team were deploying outside Miller's hunting supplies in downtown Bozeman. The store's windows were shattered, steam rising from melted snow where alien plasma weapons had struck. But the shooting had stopped. Local militia has the building surrounded, Rivera explained, now geared up beside her. They used the store's inventory against them. Apparently, thermal blankets disrupt their targeting systems. Kate smiled grimly. Hunters adapting to hunt hunters. She activated her radio. All units, remember, they think like apex predators. They'll look for high ground, try to isolate targets, but they're not used to prey that coordinates. The assault was swift and precise. Kate's team breached from multiple angles, using the store's layout to their advantage. The alien, young and inexperienced, had indeed taken the high ground, the store's upper storage area, but that's exactly what Kate had counted on. The creature fired at the first team it saw, falling for the oldest trick in the book, a flanking maneuver. Kate's real assault came from behind, through the ventilation system she'd memorized from the building plans. The alien never saw her coming. 2 flashbangs, a net launcher from the store's inventory, and 1 well-placed shot to its leg joint. The mighty hunter crashed down, tangled and disabled, its cloaking device fritzing to reveal its true form. Bag and tag, Rivera ordered. Careful with that armor. R&D will want it intact. Kate approached the struggling creature, noting its smaller size and less developed features compared to the ones that killed Tom. This was definitely a youngster. Its mandibles clicked in what might have been fear. Send a message to your elders, she said, knowing it could understand her. Their study of Earth had obviously included language. Humanity is not your training ground. We're not your prey. And if you keep pushing us, She ejected the shell casing from her rifle, letting it ring against the floor. "We'll show you what real hunting looks like." The alien's 4 eyes widened. For the first time in its species' history, a Karax warrior experienced something new: respect for its quarry. The captured Karax's data pad projected a holographic map of Earth, dotted with red markers denoting planned hunting zones. Kate studied the patterns while techs worked to decode more alien data in the makeshift command center. "They're replicating natural predator territories," she explained to Rivera, tracing the distribution, "like wolves marking their hunting grounds. But look here." She highlighted a series of overlapping zones. "They're about to escalate." Rivera frowned at the tactical display. "Multiple simultaneous attacks. Worse, they're going to drive us like cattle." Kate pulled up thermal imagery of Karax ships entering atmosphere. "These formations, they're herding patterns. They used the same techniques on 3 other worlds." The room's main screen flickered to life, showing Supreme Hunter Votal addressing his warriors. The transmission had been intercepted an hour ago. Even through the alien features, Kate recognized the creature that had killed Tom. The same distinctive scar across its left mandible, carved there by her bullet. "The human show unexpected cunning." Votal's translated words scrolled across the screen. "They've forgotten their place as prey. We will remind them." His massive form turned to the camera. "Particularly the one who dares to hunt us. The female warrior will make a worthy trophy." Kate's hand unconsciously touched the scar on her own neck, a reminder of that day in Montana. "He's making it personal." "Good." Rivera raised an eyebrow. "How is that good?" "Because personal means predictable. And..." Alarms cut her off. Multiple red alerts flashed across the tactical display. The Karax had launched their coordinated attack. "Chicago, Houston, Denver," the comm officer called out. "They're driving civilians towards central points." Kate was already moving. "They're creating killing grounds. But we can use that." She keyed her radio, broadcasting to all resistance cells. "All units, implement Protocol Alpha. They want to hunt in packs. Let's show them how wolves really fight." The next 12 hours became a deadly game of cat and mouse across multiple cities. But this time, humanity was ready. Kate's strategy, born from years of studying pack hunters, turned every Karax advantage into a weakness. In Chicago, they lured a hunting party into the subway system. The aliens' thermal vision, useless against the heat signatures of active trains, left them vulnerable to ambush. Former gang members, now resistance fighters, used their intimate knowledge of the underground to devastating effect. Houston's oil refinery workers turned their facilities into death traps, using the complex heat signatures to confuse Karax targeting systems. Every predator tactic was met with human ingenuity and desperation. But Denver became the turning point. Kate led the operation personally, putting herself in Votal's crosshairs. She knew he wouldn't be able to resist. "They're approaching from the west," her spotter called over the radio. 4 hunting parties, moving in classic wolf pack formation. Kate smiled grimly. Just like real wolves. Predictable. She triggered the first trap. Industrial fans, salvaged from the city's ventilation systems, roared to life. The sudden wind shifts disrupted the Karax's scent tracking. Smoke grenades filled the streets, but not regular smoke, a special compound developed from the captured aliens' blood samples. It bound to their cloaking technology, outlining their positions. "Now," Kate commanded. Snipers opened up from prepared positions. Regular civilians, armed with thermal imaging goggles reverse-engineered from Karax tech, struck from windows and doorways. Every street became a kill zone. Votal's roar of fury echoed through the chaos. He charged toward Kate's position, falling for the oldest trick in the book, a hunter's obsession with particularly clever prey. The battle devastated 4 city blocks, but when the smoke cleared, 3 Karax hunting parties lay dead or captured. Votal had escaped, but not before Kate put another round through his armor, adding to his collection of scars. "Send word to all cities." she commanded, watching the surviving aliens retreat. The Karax hunt in patterns. They think like Earth's apex predators because they've stolen their hunting techniques, but they forgot something crucial. Rivera helped her up, noting the fresh wound on her arm. What's that? Humans didn't become Earth's dominant species by being the strongest. She checked her rifle, already planning the next phase. We got here by outsmarting everything that tried to hunt us. And now we're just getting started. Above them, Vattel's ship limped into orbit, trailing plasma. For the first time in their species' history, the Karax had lost a majority of their warriors in a single hunt. The game was changing. Adaptation isn't just about survival. Kate addressed the assembled group in Chicago's underground bunker. It's about turning weakness into strength. Behind her, screens displayed Karax hunting formations alongside Earth predator patterns. Military personnel mixed with civilian hunters, gang members, and urban survivalists. Humanity united by a common enemy. They're changing their tactics, Rivera noted, highlighting recent attack patterns. Getting more aggressive. Desperate, Kate corrected. Vattel requested reinforcements. First time in their history they've needed backup for a simple hunt. She brought up new thermal imaging. But look at their formations. Still predictable. Still following basic predator patterns. They can't help themselves. A lieutenant burst into the room. Multiple contacts. They're hitting Michigan Avenue. Kate was already moving. Perfect. Time to test our new setup. She keyed her radio. All units, protocol echo. Let's show them how concrete canyons really work. The magnificent mile had been transformed. What looked like abandoned luxury stores and scattered debris was actually a carefully crafted killing ground. Kate watched from a sniper's perch as the first Karax hunting party moved in. Just like clockwork, she whispered. 3, 2, 1. The trap sprung. Streets that had once showcased high fashion became corridors of chaos. Construction crews had spent weeks preparing, and now their work paid off. Hydraulic barriers shot up, isolating smaller groups of aliens. Sewers, modified to pump superheated steam, disrupted their thermal vision. Every storefront became a fortress. Group 2, split them up, Kate commanded, putting a round through a Karax warrior's knee joint. Remember, they hunt like pack animals. Alone, they're vulnerable. The aliens fought back furiously, but every move played into human hands. When they took to the rooftops like big cats, they found razor wire and electric fields. When they tried to use building ventilation for ambush, they encountered automated defense systems. A massive explosion rocked the water tower. Through her scope, Kate spotted Vattel himself, leading a desperate charge. His armor showed the scars of their previous encounters, her bullets having left their mark. All units, primary target identified, she broadcast. Heard him east. The response was immediate. Coordinated fire drove Vattel's group toward Lake Michigan. The alien Supreme Hunter was learning, too late, that humans had turned their entire city into a weapon. Now, Kate commanded. The street beneath the Karax erupted. Shaped charges, borrowed from mining operations, channeled the blast upward. Most of Vattel's warriors went down, but the Supreme Hunter himself leaped clear, his cloaking device failing to reveal gleaming armor and festering rage. Kate switched positions, moving through pre-planned routes. Around her, humans demonstrated why they ruled their world. Construction workers used industrial equipment as weapons. Former criminals employed their knowledge of urban warfare. Even children played their part, their video game skills perfectly suited to operating drone swarms that harassed and confused the aliens. You adapt well. Vattel's translator boomed across the battlefield. But adaptation is admission of weakness. Kate lined up her shot. Wrong lesson, she muttered, squeezing the trigger. The round struck Vattel's shoulder joint, punching through a weakness she'd identified in their first encounter. The Supreme Hunter staggered but didn't fall. Their eyes met across the battlefield. Predator and prey, roles increasingly blurred. Fall back. Vattel commanded his remaining warriors. Regroup at. His order cut off as a civilian drone swarm overwhelmed his position, forcing him to retreat. In the aftermath, Kate surveyed the battlefield with Rivera. 5 Karax warriors dead, 3 captured, and invaluable tactical data gathered. But Vatal had escaped again. They're learning, Rivera observed, studying a fallen alien's weapons. This is new tech. Good, Kate replied, collecting shell casings. She never left evidence behind. Because so are we. She pointed to the prisoners. Their young warriors are talking. Seems watching their elders fail is educational. Above them, news helicopters circled, broadcasting humanity's victory. The message was clear. Earth's cities weren't hunting grounds. They were fortresses, and humans weren't prey anymore. They were becoming something the galaxy had never seen. Prey that learned faster than its predators. Vatal's ship disappeared into orbit, but Kate didn't need enhanced vision to know he was watching. The Supreme Hunter had just learned another human trait. We take notes on what kills us, and we come back stronger. The captured Karax facility stood silent in Wyoming's Wind River Range, its alien architecture an aberration against the natural landscape. Kate crouched behind a ridge, studying the structure through her scope while moonlight painted the snow silver. Detection grids starting to fail, her tech specialist, Marcus, whispered. Whatever powers their bases, it's not infinite. Rivera's voice crackled through their comms. Teams in position. Remember, we need their database intact. Kate had handpicked this strike force. Hunters, trackers, and special forces operators from 3 continents, each chosen for their ability to think like their prey. Because tonight, they weren't just raiding a base. They were hunting answers. Movement at the north entrance, Marcus reported. Patterns off. They're nervous. They should be, Kate replied, noting how the guards moved. Something had changed in their behavior. Gone was the prideful stalking, replaced by tight formations and frequent checks. They're acting like prey. The assault began with nature itself. They'd spent weeks studying how weather affected Karax technology. Now, as storm clouds rolled in, static electricity played havoc with alien sensors. The hunters became the hunted. Alpha Team, go dark, Kate commanded, leading her unit forward. They moved like ghosts through the snow, their white thermal suits rendering them nearly invisible. The Karax had taught humanity the value of stealth technology. Now they'd learn how well their students had adapted. The first engagement was swift and silent. 2 Karax guards went down to poison darts, their own technology, modified by human biochemists. The third had time to raise an alarm before Kate's rifle cracked, the sound lost in rolling thunder. We've got movement, Marcus called out. They're running to the central chamber, not fighting back. Kate felt it too. This wasn't right. The Karax were apex predators. They didn't retreat to defensive positions, unless. All teams, hold position, she ordered, but it was too late. The central chamber's doors burst open. What emerged wasn't a Karax warrior. It was something else, bigger, more primitive. Raw genetic material given form. Dear God, Rivera breathed through the comms. It's their prototype. The creature moved with terrible speed, shrugging off bullets like rain. 3 soldiers died before they could scream. But Kate saw something in its movement, a fatal flaw. Fall back to elevated positions, she commanded. It's not natural. Look at how it moves. She was right. The prototype's actions were programmed, not instinctive. It followed attack patterns precisely, too precisely, like a computer running combat sequences. The Karax, she realized, rolling away from the creature's charge. They're not evolved hunters. They're engineered. Their entire species. The truth hit her as she vaulted over a fallen log. The Karax weren't natural predators who'd achieved spaceflight. They were weapons created by some long-dead race. Their rigid hunting patterns weren't tradition. They were programming. Marcus, she shouted, the base's power core. If they're artificial, Already on it. His fingers flew over stolen alien tech. Electromagnetic pulse charging. But we'll lose all our tech too. Kate watched the prototype corner another team. No choice. Do it. The EMP burst lit up the night like artificial dawn. Every piece of technology, human and alien, died instantly. The prototype froze mid-stride, its artificial nature betrayed. In the sudden darkness, something remarkable happened. The remaining Karax warriors, their technology stripped away, began moving differently, more naturally, more freely. They're breaking programming, Kate whispered, watching through her backup mechanical scope as confusion spread through enemy ranks. Without their tech, the old imperatives are failing. The prototype toppled, an inert statue of engineered perfection. But the real victory was in the Karax's eyes. Real fear, real anger, real emotion breaking through eons of genetic programming. Dawn found them securing the base. The surviving Karax, struggling with their newfound awareness, surrendered. Their database revealed the truth. They were living weapons, created to be the perfect hunters. But their creators had failed to account for one thing: the ability of prey to evolve faster than its predators. What happens now? Rivera asked, watching Kate download the last of the alien data. She studied the Karax prisoners, seeing something new in their posture, something almost human. Now we show them what real evolution looks like. Because that's humanity's true strength. We don't just adapt to survive. She shouldered her rifle. We adapt to thrive. Above them, Vatel's ship would be preparing its next hunt. But the rules had changed. The game wasn't about predator and prey anymore. It was about breaking free. Vatel's personal hunt began at midnight. Kate had known he would come. Wounded pride and failing programming, driving him to face the human who'd exposed his species' artificial nature. The first plasma bolt seared through her cabin's window in Montana's Bitterroot Range, exactly where Tom had died. Perfect. Kate was already moving, her brother's lessons echoing in her mind. The mountains aren't just terrain, he'd said. They're alive. They'll tell you everything if you listen. She rolled into the snow as her cabin erupted in flames. Vatel's massive form emerged from the darkness, his armor scarred from their previous encounters. His cloaking device flickered. They always did in extreme cold. Clever prey, his translator growled. You chose this place for our final hunt. Kate's response was a single shot from her .300 Win Mag, aimed at his left knee joint, where she'd wounded him in Chicago. Vatel dodged, but slower than before. The artificial reflexes were degrading. You're fighting your programming, she called out, disappearing into the forest. Every decision, every move. You're thinking for yourself now. Scary, isn't it? A roar of fury answered her. Plasma bolts lit up the night, but Kate was already gone, using the terrain she'd prepared for weeks. The mountain wasn't just her refuge, it was her weapon. The first trap triggered as Vatel crossed a frozen stream. Shaped charges beneath the ice detonated, not to kill but to drench. In sub-zero temperatures, wet armor was a death sentence, even for engineered hunters. Your creators made you strong. Kate's voice echoed through the trees. But they made you predictable. Real predators adapt. Real predators learn. Vatel's movements became erratic, fighting between programmed responses and genuine survival instincts. He scaled a cliff face, seeking high ground. Textbook predator behavior. Kate had counted on it. The avalanche she prepared caught him mid-climb. Not enough to kill, but enough to strip away more technology. His armor's joints froze, servos failing in the extreme cold. The Supreme Hunter was becoming just a hunter. The program is failing, she called out. You feel it, don't you? Real fear, real anger, real choice. We were perfect. Vatel raged, his translator glitching. The ultimate hunters. No. Kate emerged on a ridge above him, her white thermal suit ghostly in the moonlight. You were slaves. Weapons pointed at the galaxy by masters so long dead, they're not even dust. But look at you now. Thinking, questioning, choosing. Votel raised his plasma rifle, then hesitated. Kate saw the conflict in his four eyes. Programming demanding he kill, newfound consciousness asking why. She lowered her rifle. Your children are learning faster than you. The ones we captured. They're already breaking free. Evolution isn't about being the perfect hunter, Votel. It's about choosing who you want to be. The Supreme Hunter's weapon wavered. Frost covered his armor, systems failing one by one. What are we without the programming? Alive, Kate answered. Really alive. For the first time. The moment stretched, predator and prey locked in a different kind of combat. Then Votel did something unprecedented. He dropped his weapon. The others, he growled. The old ones, they will not accept this change. I know. Kate approached carefully, reading his body language. The artificial patterns were almost gone, replaced by genuine expression. That's why I planted a tracker on you 3 battles ago. Your ship's coordinates are already transmitted. Earth's fleet is moving into position. Votel's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. You hunted me while I hunted you. That's what humans do. Kate offered him a hand. We turn weakness into strength. And right now, your people need strength to break free. The Supreme Hunter studied her hand, then clasped it with his massive clawed one. Above them, the aurora borealis painted the sky in sheets of light. Somewhere up there, a revolution was about to begin. Your brother, Votel said quietly. The first human I killed. He taught you well. Kate nodded, feeling Tom's presence in the winter wind. He taught me that the best hunters know when to stop hunting. She shouldered her rifle. Now let's go free your people. Together, predator and prey turned liberators. They descended the mountain. The real hunt was just beginning. The Carax mothership loomed in Earth's orbit like a steel thundercloud. Kate studied its layout on the dropship's display, Votel pointing out weaknesses his newfound freedom had revealed. The control center is defended by the old guard, he explained, Frost still clinging to his armor, those most deeply bound by programming. They would rather die than evolve. Then we'll help them make that choice, Kate replied, checking her modified rifle. Around her, humanity's most elite hunters prepared for space combat. Native American trackers, Maasai warriors, Arctic survivalists, and special forces operators from a dozen nations, each chosen for their ability to think beyond traditional boundaries. Rivera's voice crackled through the comm. Earth fleet in position, ready to commence Operation Liberation. The assault began with elegant simplicity. Votel's codes got them through the outer defenses, but the old guard had already detected his contamination. Plasma fire greeted them the moment they breached the hull. They're using standard defense protocols, Kate observed, leading her team through the ship's twisted corridors, still bound by their programming. Mark your positions and counter pattern. The firefight that followed was unlike anything in human or Carax history. The old guard fought with mechanical precision, every move calculated by ancient algorithms. But Kate's hunters had learned to exploit those patterns. Arctic hunters used liquid nitrogen grenades to disable armor systems. Maasai warriors demonstrated why their ancestors had hunted lions, outflanking Carax troops with impossible agility. Native trackers turned the ship's ventilation systems into deadly ambush points. They're falling back to the trophy room. Votel called out, his own shooting now fluid and unpredictable. Be warned, it's designed for final stands. Kate had expected this. The trophy room was where young Carax warriors proved themselves, fighting in recreated environments from conquered worlds. But today, those environments would work against them. All teams, Protocol Omega, she commanded. Time to show them why humans rule every environment on Earth. They burst into a massive chamber filled with distinct biomes. Desert, jungle, tundra, each separated by force fields. The old guard had positioned themselves across all terrains, expecting to divide the human forces. Instead, Kate's hunters split up purposefully. Desert warfare specialists vanished into artificial dunes. Jungle combat experts melted into alien foliage. Arctic veterans became ghosts in the synthetic snow. Impossible. The old guard commander's translator boomed. You cannot master all territories. That's humanity's secret, Kate replied, putting a round through his shoulder joint. We don't master territories. We adapt to them. The battle became a lesson in evolution. In the desert zone, Bedouin fighters demonstrated why their ancestors had ruled the sands. Arctic hunters turned the tundra zone into a killing ground, using techniques passed down through generations of survival. But the true turning point came when young Karax warriors, seeing their elders' programming fail, began turning on the old guard. Evolution in real time. Choice overwhelming code. The command center. Vatal shouted over the chaos. Now, while their defenses are split, Kate led the final push, her team adopting fluid formations that no algorithm could predict. The old guard commander faced them with desperate fury, his movements entirely mechanical now. You destroy perfection, he raged. We were the ultimate predators. No, Kate replied as Vatal locked him in combat. You were just someone else's weapons. Now you can be something better, yourselves. The commander's death came not from human weapons, but from Vatal's claws. Evolution defeating programming in single combat. Around them, the last of the old guard fell or surrendered. Kate reached the ship's control center, Earth gleaming through its massive viewport. Humanity's first real step into the galaxy had come not through peaceful contact, but through teaching would-be conquerors how to be free. What now? Rivera asked, watching young Karax warriors destroy the programming terminals that had enslaved their species. Kate looked at Votal, seeing real emotion in those alien eyes. Now we show them what real evolution looks like. Your people hunted across the galaxy because you were programmed to, she told him. Time to learn a new purpose. Votal nodded, understanding dawning. We become protectors, not predators. Exactly. Kate smiled, thinking of Tom. Because the best hunters know when to stop hunting and start preserving. Above Earth, a new chapter began. Predator and prey united not by force, but by choice, by evolution. The real hunt was finally over. The real growth was just beginning. 1 year later, Kate stood before the United Galactic Council, Vatal at her side. Through the chamber's massive windows, Earth and the transformed Karax fleet shared orbit, a symbol of unprecedented change. The integration program has exceeded all expectations, she reported to the assembled representatives. The Karax's genetic programming has been completely neutralized. They're now evolving naturally and choosing their own path. Holographic displays showed the results. Former hunting grounds had become wildlife preserves. Karax warriors, once bound by artificial instincts, now served as guardians of endangered species across multiple worlds. Their former trophy room had become an interactive museum of life. But the most remarkable change, Vatal added, his translator now conveying subtle emotional nuances, is in our young. Born free of programming. They display creativity and empathy we never thought possible. The evidence was undeniable. Security footage showed Karax children playing with human kids, their natural hunting instincts channeled into conservation and protection. Former kill zones had become teaching grounds where both species learned from each other. There are still challenges, Kate continued. Some Karax enclaves resist change, clinging to their artificial purpose. But they're declining naturally as more of our people choose freedom over programming. She brought up new images, joint human Karax ranger teams patrolling Earth's wildest regions. Alien technology now served to protect rather than hunt. The predators had become preservers. Last month, Vatal reported, we encountered another engineered hunter species in the Carina sector. Instead of conquest, we offered them choice. Evolution over programming. They accepted. The council chamber hummed with appreciation. Humanity's first major impact on galactic society hadn't come through superior firepower or technology, but through teaching the value of choice and change. After the session, Kate walked the observation deck with Vatal. Earth's winter hemisphere glittered below, the Montana mountains where it all began barely visible through clouds. The old guard's final archives revealed something interesting, Vatal said. Our creators made us to be perfect hunters because they feared extinction. They never imagined their weapons would find a better way to survive. Kate nodded, touching the scar on her neck. Fear of extinction makes you rigid. Acceptance of change makes you adaptable. She smiled. Tom knew that. He always said the best hunters respect life more than death. Your brother, Vatal's voice carried genuine regret, would be proud of what his death sparked. He is. Kate wasn't being metaphorical. Below them, the newly established Thomas Anderson Wildlife Preserve covered much of Montana's wilderness. Within its boundaries, human and Corax rangers worked together to protect Earth's predator species. Life preserving life. Her comm unit chimed. An alert from a joint patrol. Poachers in Sector 7, she reported, want to show these amateurs how real hunters operate. Vatal's mandibles clicked in what had become recognizable as a smile. Teaching instead of killing. Exactly. Kate checked her non-lethal gear. Evolution in action. They moved with practiced coordination, predator and prey turned partners. Below them, Earth turned peacefully. Proof that the greatest hunts didn't end in death, but in transformation. In the Montana Preserve, a pack of wolves howled at the rising moon. Among them, young Corax rangers learned the true meaning of being apex predators, not through killing, but through maintaining nature's delicate balance. The galaxy had changed. The species engineered to be the perfect hunters had evolved into something their creators never imagined. Perfect protectors. And humanity, the prey that refused to accept its role, had proved that true strength lay not in domination, but in adaptation. Kate's final report to the council summed it up perfectly. We turned the tables not by becoming better killers, but by teaching killers to become better. That's humanity's true gift to the galaxy, not the power to hunt, but the wisdom to know when to stop hunting. As their ship descended toward the poaching incident, Kate felt Tom's presence in the winter wind. Her brother's final lesson had sparked a revolution that transformed would-be conquerors into conservators. The best predators, after all, protect their hunting grounds. And now, thanks to humanity's influence, the entire galaxy had become a protected zone, watched over by the very species that once threatened to destroy it. Evolution's victory was complete. The hunters had become guardians, and the prey had become teachers. Some tables, once turned, need never turn back.